What's going on, guys? Phil here from Phil's Craft Corner. Today I'm going to talk you through how I made this task chart for my daughter. There's no intro or outro to this video. I'm just going to get straight into it because I'm pretty sick and I'm doing this voiceover in between having coughing fits. I've currently got a Jakemans in my mouth to help me not cough so much, so let's go. Wish me luck. Okay, so immediately you're going to see in this video I make quite a few mistakes because obviously being ill, my brain wasn't working properly and I was just trying to keep myself occupied instead of just feeling miserable about coughing all the time. So the first mistake I did was when I hit record on my camera, I forgot that I changed it to photograph mode, and after 5 minutes the camera just shut itself off. So this is started partway through the engraving process, but honestly you haven't missed that much. It's just engraving some words on to the sheet below. This on the right hand side, these are going to be some of the tasks that can slide in and out of the chart, and then you'll see the ticks and the crosses engraved. Where the ticks and crosses are, I've planned them out so that the slider is big enough to cover the ticks and crosses when you slide it across. You'll see when it gets to the assembly how this all goes together, and honestly I'm quite proud of myself with the design. I just really thought about it. I sat down and laid everything out slowly, and I'm getting better at design work and I'm learning more the more that I do it. As you can see here, it's just doing the ticks and the crosses. This is on the very bottom layer. This has 3 layers individually. So you've got the bottom layer, which has the ticks and the crosses, and it also has a hole for the keyhole hanger that you saw at the start of the video. The middle layer is basically a spacer layer so that the slots can slide backwards and forwards. This has most of it's cut out basically. There's a cut out around the ticks and the crosses, and there's also cutouts around where the tasks will slot in. I made these so that when you slot the tasks in, it's not going to fall all the way down to the bottom, so these are really thin kind of bars in between each of the layers where the tasks go. And then you have the top layer, which has the holes cut out for the tasks, and then the holes cut out for where the sliders are going to go above these ticks and crosses. It also has the name on the top. You can add that if you want to. Put whatever text you want on the front basically. As you can see where this is cutting out, I'm using the waste space for where the tasks are going to be displayed. That's cutting out the sliders for where the ticks and crosses are. The small square goes on the top, and the larger square with like the tabs on the side, that goes on the bottom, so the tabs stop it falling out and twisting side to side from the slots. You'll see in assembly that I did this completely wrong, and there is a much easier way to assemble it. Just pay attention to what you're doing. That's my biggest mistake that I made on it. I have to come back and redesign the sliders because I didn't pay attention to where I was up to, and I just glued it all together and I couldn't get it all apart. Again, the perks of being poorly. The wiggly line that you've just seen it do all the way up the left hand side of the back panel is basically a finger slot, so it's easier to grab the task and pull it out at the side. Maybe I should have done one of these on the front as well, I'm not too sure, but it's not too bad. It's fairly easy to slide them out once it's sanded down and stuff. So that first sheet I did had the front, the back, and some of the tasks cut out of that one. On this sheet it's just the center board and just the last few tasks to fit in there. You can do as many tasks as you want, like I say, you can swap them out and it works really well. So if you have different weekly or daily tasks that you need your child to do, then it works really good for that. As I said, this centerpiece, most of that's cut out and it's just a few bars and stuff to glue in. Alright, on to assembly, and this is pretty straightforward to assemble. The hardest part is lining up the sliders for where the ticks and crosses are. To do that, I came up with the solution of setting in the slider bit, the smaller piece, in the slot where the sliders are, and then gluing the tabbed bit on the top. It helps it line up, and it did make this process a little bit quicker, rather than putting a little dot of glue on and trying to line it up by eye and holding a tiny little piece and gluing your fingers together and stuff like that. This works pretty well. If I didn't forget that I needed to put them back in before I glued the centerpiece to it, it'd have been ideal, but as you'll see in a minute, I completely forget to line everything up again and put these little sliding tabs back in. You only need a tiny dot of glue. If you put a bit too much on, then it's just going to get glued to the side of the slot it needs to slide in, so just be careful how much glue you're putting in there. Gluing the centerpiece can be a bit of a pain too, because these bars are so thin and they can move around a lot. What I should have done really was kept hold of the waist of this, and then I could have just used that to help line up these bars. Instead, I used some of the tasks to help separate the bars and put those the correct distance apart. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't ideal. I didn't end up getting these perfectly straight. Some of them are a bit tight to slide in and out. I did get a bit of glue onto the tasks as well doing it this way, so I do recommend keeping hold of the waist, and then that will help you just line everything up a bit quicker, a bit easier, and you won't end up with a mess that I ended up with too. But this is where I made the big mistake. What I should have done at this point was put the sliders back into the slots and then glue the back on. I completely forgot to put the sliders back in, and by the time I'd realised, which was this exact point, I knew I'd messed up big time. What I did to fix it was I redesigned the slider to be a bit narrower on the sides, that way I could sit it into the slot and then turn it sideways so that the tabs still held it in place, and then the square that was gluing onto the top was still the same size, so it was still big enough to cover the cross or the tick. And then I glued them in place while it was already assembled, which isn't the easiest way to do it. Obviously the other way that I did at the start was the easiest way to line these up. I should have just put them back in when I was gluing the back to the centre. Then it was just a case of testing out all the tasks to see if they fitted in the slots. Did have a slight issue with the original tasks. I had to recut these because, like I say, I didn't line up those slots properly, and if I kept the waist, then that would have lined it up much better and it'd have been a much easier task. And there we go, one task chart completed. As I said, this wasn't a high production video. I didn't get to do much recording. I was suffering, but I do appreciate everybody following along. If you like these kind of videos, please give it a like and consider subscribing. It's free, it helps out the channel loads, and it'll make me feel super happy while I'm very poorly. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.